this. It says, what are the different types of tawaf? I mean, where do they get their names? Where they're based from?
I'm glad this question is being asked, because whenever people read in books there is Tawaf al-Ifada, they don't know what is the difference between Tawaf al-Ifada, Tawaf al-Wada', and Tawaf al-Qudum. Each one is different from the other. And of course, there is the voluntary Tawaf, Tawaf al-Tatawwa. The very first one, which is arrival Tawaf, and that's why the name is taken from the word arrival, Tawaf al-Qudum. This is basically if the person is performing Umrah or performing Hajj, then he begins by the Umrah, of course. Once you enter Mecca, the first activity you would do is to perform a Tawaf. This Tawaf, this very first Tawaf, is known as Tawaf al-Qudum. It differs from the rest of the other Tawafs in certain traditions, such as that a person will be recommended to do a few things, such as al-Ramal wal-Ittiba', and this is particularly for men, not for women. Al-Ramal is to walk briskly in the first 3 rounds of a Tawaf. A Tawaf is 7 rounds around the Kaaba, beginning by the black stone corner and ended up at the same place. So you jog or you walk briskly in the first 3 rounds. And al-Ittiba' is whenever the pilgrim would uncover the right shoulder and wrap the rida around the left one. This way of wearing the rida or the ihram clothes is specifically in the very first Tawaf, which is Tawaf al-Qudum. That means it is totally wrong to see somebody doing the sa'i while uncovering the right shoulder. And this is very common. Or to see somebody while praying Sunnatul Tawaf, the 2 rak'ahs of Tawaf after completing his Tawaf, while uncovering the right shoulder. Once you're done with the first Tawaf, that's it. That means in any other Tawaf that follows, whether it's a voluntary Tawaf, Tawaf al-Ifada, which is one of the pillars of Hajj, or Tawaf al-Wada', which is a mandatory Tawaf, a person is not supposed to do either al-Ramal nor al-Ittiba', jogging nor uncovering the right shoulder. So this is the first Tawaf, which is Tawaf al-Qudum, which is also the pillar of the Umrah. Tawaf al-Ifada is upon coming back from the 9th day of Arafah, arriving back to Mina, throwing the stones. People are ready now to do Tawaf al-Ifada. It was called Ifada because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِذَا أَفَضْتُم مِّنْ عَرَفَاتٍ, return back from Arafat. As we mentioned in the previous answer for the previous question, the Tawaf al-Ifada is one of the pillars of Hajj that we must do. It begins, its beginning time on the 10th of the month of Dhul Hijjah. And it goes all the way, not only the days of At-Tashriq, 11th, 13th, and 14th, it's even extended to the end of the month of Dhul Hijjah, and some scholars said it's endless. Such as the case of the brother who left without performing Tawaf al-Ifada. We say you must go back and perform Tawaf al-Ifada because it is one of the main pillars of Hajj and cannot be made up by any means. You cannot even ask somebody to do it on your behalf. This is exactly similar to praying Asr 3 rak'ahs instead of 4. You have to pray the missing rak'ah. You have to fulfill the pillar which you've missed of the Hajj so that you would have your Hajj complete. Then Tawaf al-Wada', which is the last activity that the pilgrim would do before departing Mecca. Right before departure, it's called Tawaf al-Wada' because the farewell. You're giving a farewell to the place, to the Kaaba, to Mecca by performing Tawaf. A person should keep in mind that if I'm leaving in 2 or 3 hours from now, then I better go and make Tawaf al-Wada'. Very normal Tawaf, but it is mandatory. If the person missed Tawaf al-Wada' and did not do it, then he can make it up because it's wajib by offering a sacrifice or penalty, which is slaughtering a sheep. It has to be slaughtered in Mecca and distributed among the poor people of Mecca. Who will be exempted from Tawaf al-Wada'? Women during their menses. People who have postponed Tawaf al-Ifada until right before their departure. Tawaf al-Ifada could also suffice them for both, as Tawaf al-Ifada and Tawaf al-Wada', because it happened to be the last activity they would do before leaving Mecca. Now, what do we do while staying the rest of the days in Mecca? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recommended us to do Tawaf as many times as we can because At-Tawaf is a Salah. The only difference between At-Tawaf and Salah that in At-Tawaf we move and we speak, while in a Salah we only recite what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed for us to be recited in a Salah. But they both require tahara, wudu', and of course purity from the minor and the major impurity. That's why women during their menses, they can never do tawaf. So tawafu at-tatawwu' or the voluntary tawaf can be done at any time, day or night. That once you enter the masjid, any masjid, there is a confirmed sunnah to offer 2 rak'ahs, which are the greeting of the masjid. But if you enter al-Masjid al-Haram, the Kaaba, if you do tawaf around the Kaaba 7 times, that would suffice you. So that would be considered as the greeting of al-Masjid al-Haram. Then you don't have to do sunnat tahiyyat al-masjid. But if you don't, then you don't sit down. You pray the current prayer or any nafl, or you initiate independent 2 rak'ahs sunnat tahiyyat al-Masjid al-Haram. Any day or night, the Prophet ﷺ said, do not prevent anyone from performing tawaf day and night around the Kaaba.